because I got you here. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Zennie62. And I am honored and proud to have my longtime... God, Alan, how long have I known you?
I have no idea, Zennie. Many years.
It's been a while. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. Yeah. Alan Michaan's the owner of the Grand Lake Theater. And I remember, this is going to put a little bit of a date on it. I remember back in, I believe it was 1996, when I worked for Elihu Harris, the mayor of Oakland. And you and I had a meeting, the city possibly providing a loan or so that you could, I think you wanted to buy the Grand Lake at the time or something of that order. But
no, you know what, Zennie? I think at that time I was trying to develop the Paramount.
Yes, that's what it was.
More auditoriums alongside of it.
Yep.
To put it into full movie use, and then we were also trying to resuscitate the Fox Oakland. I was just way ahead of my time on those projects.
No, I think, and as I said then, I said in the interim, and I say now, I still believe that you should run both the Fox and the Paramount. I thought it was a brilliant idea, but you know, Oakland, as you and I both know, has a tendency to get in its own way.
Well, yeah, things don't always work out the way we hope they do. But you know, the one big success I take away from that whole effort was that I put a lot of focus and sort of a spotlight on the Fox, and I think that kept it from getting demolished.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really do. And then of course it was redeveloped, and it's going great guns now. But hey, let's shift to my favorite theater around the world. And I want to thank you for being a friend, and just when I come in, just, you know, having this fantastic place. I mean, it's home. It's my home, my second home or third home. But you bought it.
Thank you.
Outright.
Thank you. You know, what we try to do here at the Grand Lake, Zennie, and I've done for years, as you know, is I've tried to sort of use the wonderful architecture and romance and ambiance of this beautiful building to recreate what it was like going to the movies decades ago, before you had multiplexes and nachos at the snack bar and pinball machines and video games in the lobby and half an hour of commercials before the movie. we really have recreated the classic movie palace experience here at the Grand Lake. When you come to a movie here, you're never going to see a commercial.
No.
You come in, we have, traditional old style movie snack bar food, fresh popcorn with real butter. Charge about half as much as the multiplexes do for our snack bar items, and we have the lowest admission prices anywhere around. But the most important thing is you go into the auditorium, and the projection and sound are absolutely the best. We're a full union projection in this house. And when that movie starts, we start with coming attraction previews, and we do not torture our audience with TV commercials like all of the other theaters do.
Hey, so what led up? How did we get here? How did you get to the point where you were ready to spend, I believe it was $3.7 million to buy out the lease?
Well, yeah, it's a long story, and I've been operating this theater since 1980. What happened was, in 1929, the two gentlemen who built this theater, Mr. Karski and Mr. Kaliski, they decided that for whatever reason, they ran it for several years, and then in 1929, I think partly because maybe they were worried with the Fox Oakland opening and the Paramount scheduled to be built, that that they might not be able to properly compete. So they entered into a long-term 95-year lease with Fox West Coast Theaters. And so West Coast Theaters ran this theater for many years until they sold, the whole chain got sold to National General Theaters. And I believe that was sometimes in the very late 40s or early 50s. Subsequent to that, National General Corporation was purchased by Mann Theaters. And then in the late 70s, Mann Theaters sort of made a corporate decision that they wanted to offload all of these big old movie palaces, and they started making deals. And at that time, I had a friend, a gentleman by the name of Jack Craig, who unfortunately is no longer alive. And Jack was in the business of stripping out old theaters and and doing refurbishing for United Artists Theaters, who was his major employer. But he would also have the ability to sell things that came out of old theaters. So when I built my first theater in Berkeley, the Rialto, it was all built out of salvage from theaters being torn down. And a lot of it, Jack Craig helped me by finding me the theaters and being able to get me good deals on the materials, which ended up being the first completely salvaged, recycled theater ever built. But getting back to '79, he knew that I was interested in acquiring more theaters and that I'd always loved the Grand Lake. Because in 1979, I was probably, I don't know, I was running 8 or 10 theaters around the Bay Area. So he put me in touch with the folks down south at Man Theaters, and we were able to come to a deal. And then in January 3rd of 1980, I assumed the lease. I purchased the lease, and I've been operating the theater ever since under that ground lease, which expires in 2023. So as the years tick by, I'm looking forward. I'm going, wow, 2023, that's getting closer all the time. And I had always indicated to the attorney who represents the owners of the building that I was interested in purchasing the property. The problem was that the owners of the building were the descendants of these two gentlemen who originally built it. So every month when we have to write the rent check, we have to write 9 checks. And there were 9 different portions of the underlying property. And to get 9 people to agree on something like that is nearly impossible. But earlier this year, I was contacted by the attorney, lovely Oakland attorney by the name of Merrill Schwartz.
Oh, yeah.
Dealing with him for the last 38 years. And it's been really nice that he was representing my landlords because we always got along really well. And Merrill called me and he said, we'd like to possible to make a deal. And then we started talking about it, and then we didn't take us too long to get into a purchase and sale agreement, and we closed escrow yesterday.
Congratulations. That's huge. Hey, how will the Grand Lake change? Because the Grand Lake is not just the theater, but correct me if I'm wrong, it's also the floral operation on the Grand Avenue side, right? Because it's Grand Avenue in Lake Park, right?
Right. We're at Grand Lake Park, and we actually have 3 small rental units as part of the building. And
so they basically now pay rent to you, or they always did.
Well, they always did, because the way the ground lease was written in 1920, I think it was 29. The way the ground lease was written was that basically whoever holds the lease owns the building and contents, but not the underlying property. So the tenants that are over there on the Grand Avenue side were always our tenants. And so we controlled those storefronts. And it was very lucky that it was written that way, because in 1985, 5 years after I came in here, we had a large group of storefronts that went all the way down Grand Avenue. And the leases were coming up for renewal on them. We didn't renew those leases. And we gutted that portion of the building and built Grand Lake 3 and Grand Lake 4. So those are really add-ons in what used to be retail space.
Will the offerings of the films change at all? I mean, or I know
nothing changes really, other than my overhead goes up. Now I have a higher mortgage payment than what my rent payment was, but that's okay. I'm thrilled that we were able to put this together.
Hey, so you survived the Parkway theater era, where they had where the owners had the pizza and the beer and everything. And I think at one point you'd contemplated making a move back toward that. But in terms of the changes you made, one thing I can say I love the seats. The seats are just, I can't wait to sit down in those seats, Alan.
Well, one of the great things about the way we reseated the house when I bought new seats a few years ago is we went from 900 seats in the main auditorium to 620. So we have the best leg room you're going to get anywhere because the seats, the rows are so far apart from each other. Because I didn't feel I really needed 900 seats. This year I could have used it a whole bunch of times, but that's okay. Everyone is very comfortable when they sit in that auditorium. But it's been an amazing year for the Grand Lake, and really it's because of these 3 films that are Oakland films that really account for almost half the attendance we've had all year.
Wow.
Black Panther was crazy. I mean, it was crazy busy with Black Panther.
Yep.
And Ryan Coogler is a very, very big booster of the theater.
Yep.
And he would go around and do press conferences and TV interviews, and he almost never failed to mention that the Grand Lake was his favorite.
Yeah, that's.
And so, I mean, we got enormous exposure for that. He even showed up here, and we presented him to the audience several times, and they all went wild seeing him come here. And then later on in the year, we had first Sorry to Bother You, the Rich Riley film, and then Blind Spotting, which is a third Oakland film.
Yeah.
And our attendance on both of Blind Spotting and Sorry to Bother You was really the highest in the nation because the local community really came out, supported these films, and they're still on the screen, and they're still doing very well.
Yeah, and there are fantastic statements about Oakland. Hey, I'm curious. I want to get. I have viewers now, and one of them, Barry Lee, asks, "What if you have a Sony projector?" I know your projection system, but he's in Texas and is contemplating a visit. He says, "Can you ask him if he has a Barco or Sony digital projector?" So I'm asking.
No, we have Christie projectors.
Christie projector, and he wanted.
And actually, the Grand Lake, when it comes to projection, what we do is also very unusual for theaters these days. In addition to having a full-time union, which nobody else seems to anymore, theaters 1, 2, and 3 are all equipped to run 35 millimeter and 70 millimeter film. In fact, right now we're showing 2001: A Space Odyssey downstairs.
Oh, I'm missing it! Oh no!
Millimeter.
Dang on it!
It's going to end tomorrow. So
oh no!
Tonight or tomorrow. But also, so all of the theaters are equipped with Christie digital projection systems, Dolby stereo sound, and also in theaters 1 and theater 3, those are our 3D theaters. And instead of using these add-on gadgets that everybody uses for 3D, which of course is why it does not deliver good results, and this is why 3D has become quite unpopular with moviegoers, we have 2 projector 3D. So what we do is we show 3D the way it used to be shown back in the 50s when you had 2 projectors interlocked with Selson motors, and you had a left eye projector and a right eye projector, and double the light and the ability to focus for each eye independently. So our 3D with 2 projector system that we've got is spectacular. It's never dark and it's never blurry, and we all the time get raves from people. People come out and say, I really hate 3D everywhere, but I love it here. It's wonderful. Yeah, so we really try to have the best projection and sound that is possible.
Hey, what's the key to the Grand Lake surviving in this digital age? Because it seems like, well, you know what I'm saying. You've got people coming home and staying Netflix, but when it comes to the Grand Lake, particularly since you solved the clearance issues of decades ago, you guys are really kicking butt. And what's the secret? Is it just the location? What's the secret? What is it? Or is it a secret?
Well, we almost went out of business in the late 90s because of clearance issues when we were really illegally cleared by the Jack London cinemas downtown,
right?
Who at that time were not clearing the United Artists Emeryville, which was equidistant. And we went through about two or 3 years where we really couldn't get any film. And finally, I just had to sue everybody.
Yeah, I remember. No, you were right to do that.
Nothing was happening. And then as soon as I added all of the film companies as defendants, things happened really quickly, and the clearances fell apart. We were able to get film again. However, we lost all our momentum. People had gotten out of the habit of going to the Grand Lake. And so we struggled for a number of years. And then a few years back, my film buyer, Mike Timko, convinced me that we should go with more of a discount policy. So we added $5 Tuesdays, and we added $6 matinees for all films, including 3D every day for all films starting before 6 p.m. And it started getting busier and busier. And Tuesdays started becoming the busiest day of the week. What we did was we reestablished the audience, and we got people back in the habit of looking at when they were deciding to go see a movie.
Yep.
And so our low ticket price policy, our highest adult ticket price in the evening is $11. It's $12.50 for a 3D movie, but of course, if they come before 6, they're all $6. And our snack bar prices are far and away the lowest of anyone around. So people have come to realize that if they come to the Grand Lake Theater, not only do they get a superior movie-going experience, but they're paying a whole lot less than if they go to a theater that's operated by one of the big theater circuits.
Hey, speaking of which, Barry Lee also asked, he says, what do you think of the AMC buying up smaller chains like the Carmike Cinemas?
Well, this is something that's been going on as long as I've been in the business. I've been showing movies since 1972. Wow. When I was 19, and I built my first theater. So it doesn't surprise me. There's always consolidation, and there's always different things going on. I don't think it really affects us anymore because after my clearance litigation, we very quickly saw clearances falling apart everywhere. And now pretty much distribution takes the attitude of, if anyone who wants a film can pretty much get it, as long as, it's competing first-run theaters.
And speaking of which, Barry says he's been in business since '89. He lives in Seguin, Texas. He's one of the Zennie62 fans that really helps keep us going with the questions. But what movies do you have coming up that you're looking forward to? I mean, they're all good because what I love is that sometimes you'll grab me and say, "Hey, Zennie, I want you to check out, like the film with Eddie Redmayne that we watched, or something else." But when I'm in town, of course. But what do you have coming up that you're really excited about?
Well, it's really hard to get excited about, film titles on a sheet of paper until you really see them.
It's true.
I'm excited about the Michael Moore movie coming up on September 21. It's called Fahrenheit 11/9. It's an anti-Trump movie, and since that sort of goes along with our political beliefs here at the Grand Lake, and we're very famous for taking stands politically over the years with our marquee messages. I'm excited about that film, but the fall is looking really good. I mean, Warner Brothers has a new version of A Star Is Born. There's going to be another Fantastic Beasts movie. Disney has a few interesting things. So, we're hearing really, really good, advanced buzz on the Mary Poppins movie.
Yeah, I saw the trailer, man. I was blown away. Whew.
Yeah, and they have a sequel to Wreck-It Ralph, which was a very good animated film. Warner Brothers has an exciting film that I hope breaks the DC curse at Christmas, and it's called Aquaman.
Yes, I saw the trailer. Awesome.
The trailer is stunning.
Yes.
And I can hardly wait to see this movie in 3D. It's just, if you haven't seen the trailer, go see it. It's Aquaman. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
there are lots and lots of great films coming up for the fall. I think it's going to be a very powerful fall this year, and a good Christmas.
Yeah, I can't let you go without asking you about the mayor's race. Who are you backing? Oakland mayor's race.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Oh, I said I can't let you go without talking about politics in the Oakland mayor's race. Who are you backing?
I haven't decided yet. I thought you were going to run, Zennie, but you let me down.
I was going to run, and I tell you what happened, and I'm glad you brought that up, Alan. I was what happened basically is, as an only child, I couldn't see spending that time, and at the time, my mom was getting sick, and she got progressively sicker.
I totally understand.
Yeah, and believe me, I will say this. I said it before, but I'll say this very candidly right here. If I ran, I could win. And the reason I hold that, Alan, is because people do not understand how to use the levers of government to solve problems. For example, we could right now take $18 million, divide it up for the number of homeless people that are in Oakland, give them that, and that would add up to about, I think, $5,600 per person, plus the programs we already have for the homeless, and actually get them going again. At the same time, reestablish tax increment financing to actually assure the construction of affordable and below affordable housing. And so we buy ourselves time for the market to alter, and we're not creating more homeless people. And then we give the rent board an additional $10 million to give out to grants to anybody who may become homeless, so that there's a better chance that they don't. Those are simple solutions we can do right now. But the situation is, we're not serious about solving the problem. The mayor isn't serious about it, and she's my god sister. Okay, so no, what I decided to do was make my media system more powerful, so that what I put out goes on Google News. And to be honest with you, Alan, it scared a lot of people. But
of course it does. I mean, my politics have always been viewed as extreme, and if anybody wants to know what they are, all they need to do is Google Grand Lake Theater Marquee and take a look at 200 or 300 messages that we've had up on the billboard, seen by tens of thousands of people a day since the stolen election in November of 2000.
Yeah.
My biggest crusade, I guess, has been on the fact that our elections are completely fraudulent, and that there's no reason for anyone to believe any result that comes out of any election that has electronics involved. If it's not hand-counted paper ballots with full oversight from observers of both parties and results posted on a precinct level, that's the standard. If we're not getting that, it's faith-based voting. You're just believing what someone is telling you, and you don't know if those results are real or not.
Hey, how did
Republicans have been stealing elections since they got away with it in 2000. George W. Bush put in the HAVA, HAVA Law, Help America Vote Act. Big funny, big laugh. And all it did was put electronic, computerized voting equipment with secret software in our polling places all over the country, so that his partisan hacks could control the results of our reported elections. The Republicans would never be in power today if we had real elections in this country.
What do you think?
And I'm hoping that people are starting to wake up about it, because I think they are. And I think, we're seeing the media talk a little bit more about it. I think that the DNC took a page from the Republican playbook in the primaries, and they kept Bernie Sanders from being the nominee.
Yeah.
And had Bernie been our nominee, he would have just wiped the floor with Donald Trump.
Yep. How did we get where we have Trump as a, and what do you think the impeachment clock? Less than a year. I think it's a matter of weeks at this point, and I don't think it's impeachment. I think that it could very well be what we saw with Richard Nixon, where he just came to a realization that the jig is up. I got to get out of here, and maybe I could get out of here with my skin. And even though Trump is such an egomaniac with not a real high intellect, I think that his family members might convince him of it, because things are closing in. Yeah.
Now that you have his very close associates getting immunity from prosecutors for testifying, and today we learned that his chief financial right-hand guy has taken immunity. It's going to expose all sorts of things that we don't even know about. What we've seen so far is the tip of the iceberg. I think things could happen very quickly, and I've already written the marquee message that's going to go up on the marquee of the Grand Lake the moment we hear the news. And it's posted up here in the office, with the staff is ready to fly out there on the ladders and get it up there. I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, I was going to ask.
You got to be surprised. but I'm not sure that that Pence is going to be a whole lot better, because I think he's going to be just as evil and more secretive. And I just pray to God that in all of these revelations and all the dirt that's coming out now, that he goes down too.
I was going to ask you, what if he gets ensnared? Because my prediction is there's going to be about 20 indictments before all is said and done, if not more.
There's so much of coming out now. It's unraveling.
Yeah.
It's unraveling fast. I remember Watergate. I remember being glued to the TV every day watching Senator Sam Irvine, and all of the drama that was going on, with the televised hearings, and for Donald Trump to call Mike Dean a rat.
Yeah.
Excuse me, John Dean, a rat, for standing up to protect the Constitution of the United States is just an abomination.
Hey, for those of you who are Oakland relationship trivia buffs, Mike Dean is a locally famous attorney in Oakland who spends most of his time in Hawaii.
Yes, and he's been my attorney since 1989.
Oh my God. When was the last time you talked to Mike? I haven't talked to him in years.
I talk to Mike every once in a while, but usually, I'll send him an email saying, Mike, I got to do this or that, or I need this or that. He'll refer me to somebody in his office over there. But I see him every once in a while, and him and Eula are doing great, and they just spend a lot of time in Hawaii, and I certainly hope they're not there now with what's going on with this hard.
Oh my God, yes. Mike, prayers to you. Mike Dean is the Dean in Wendell Rosenblatt and Dean, folks, for anybody watching who's saying, have I heard that name before, But
I think they're rated as the #3 law firm in the country, if I'm not mistaken, Zennie.
Wow, I had no idea. Man, tons.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They are one of the top law firms in the United States.
My goodness.
And I've been with them since the late '80s. And they handled everything on this purchase of the Grand Lake property for me, reviewing loan documents, etc.
Hey, so you've got, how much time do I have you for before I ask the question?
I'm sorry?
I said, how much more time do I have you for before I ask this?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm just,
cool. This is great.
Going to go downstairs and watch a bit of 2001 and 70mm when we're done.
Oh, you're at the theater right now. Hey, folks, go to 3200 Grand Avenue, Grand Lake Theaters, corner Grand and Lake Park, right near Lake Merritt. It is the best theater in the United States, if not the world. I haven't been in every theater in the world, but I've been to quite a few places in the United States. There's nothing like the Grand Lake, and actually,
Zennie, if your listeners are not doing anything later tonight, we're running Rocky Horror Picture Show in the main auditorium at 11 p.m.
What?
Tomorrow for only $6 admission.
I'll put that out. Hey, Barry Lee, if you're still here, could you tweet that out for me? Rocky Horror Picture Show, Grand Lake Theater, Oakland, 11 o'clock, 8:24, right? 8:20.
Yeah, today and tomorrow only.
Yeah, today and tomorrow only. Yeah, Rocky Horror. $6. Rocky Horror Picture Show at the Grand Lake. When did that happen?
Well, you know what? Space Odyssey is so long that there was no way that I could run 2 performances of it. So I decided, well, it's over by 10:45. 7:45 show. It's over by 10:35, 10:40. I decided, hey, I'll just throw Rocky Horror out there for a low admission price and see if anyone wants to see it.
And it worked.
Well, I don't know. I just booked it on a couple of days ago on Monday, and let's see if it works or not.
I'd be shocked if it didn't. I know that Bruce from Heart and Dagger is going to make a John over there. He's a bartender at the Heart and Dagger who loves Rocky Horror and science fiction and everything else. And I know he'll definitely hop over there. Hey, so what do you think? Go ahead.
A lot of fun, yeah.
What do you think about how Oakland is changing with the gentrification, with Barbecue Becky by the lake, Jogger Joe, who actually met Henry Sinte, by the way. But what do you think about what's happening in Oakland? What does it say about us?
Well, it just seems to be what seems to be happening everywhere, and it's a tough situation for so many people who we're getting priced out. And the other thing I'm seeing in Oakland as you drive around, everywhere is crazy construction. Everywhere that you look, it's like massive apartment buildings are being built. And so I think really what's happening in Oakland is very much the fallout for what has already happened in San Francisco, where normal people can't live there anymore because they've been priced out, and because it's just become a very, very difficult urban, very, very expensive urban environment, tough environment in San Francisco. And I think people are coming to Oakland because it's so much nicer.
Yeah. And something else that I think is going to be a big game changer is this fall, we have the California Affordable Housing Act on the ballot. And if that passes, it will cause the repeal of Costa-Hawkins, which is basically the law that's been in place since 1995 that allowed an apartment owner to increase their rents to market value. And it was uniform up and down the state of California. You could only increase the rent if a person lived in a rent-controlled unit by the percentage of it. But it prohibits.
Well, I certainly hope that passes, because I really, I hate to see people having to leave. I run another business. We run a full-service auction house, Michaan's Auctions,
and an awesome one, I might. Hey, Alan, do you realize I still have the automatic systems promoting your auction on Twitter?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But I've lost some very, very beloved long-term employees that have left the Bay Area because they just feel they can't afford to live here anymore.
Oh no!
And we see it at every level. And it's harder and harder for the people who work at the Grand Lake to live nearby. I mean, it is really makes running a business really, really hard, and it's really hard on people who earn a normal type of a wage. I think that a few years ago, when Oakland created their living wage ordinance, I think that was a really good thing. And I know a lot of people were very worried about it. I know our overhead went up a bunch, but then I also found that people were more able to afford to come to the movies.
Yeah.
So it did work out really well. I'm a big fan of Bernie Sanders and all of the things that he espouses. I know we have a bill in the works here in California that's a Medicare for all type of a bill. And I hope that passes. We need change in this country. What we really need is a president, backed by a Congress that will go along with him, who actually gives a damn about the people that live in this country. And I thought Bernie was going to be the one. What I'd love to see happen is I would love to see that kind of a president go in there and slash the military budget by 90%, close all of our bases all over the world, and stop our illegal aggressions all over the world. To infrastructure, renewable energy, and supporting people and helping people out of poverty.
Yeah,
and that's really, there's so much money there, Zennie.
There is.
The amount of money that is just flushed down the rat hole of the military-industrial complex is obscene. And we're the richest country in the world. Yeah, and we could take that money, fix all of the ills in this country, and help people all over the world, so they don't hate us, so that we don't have to kill them to defend ourselves against them. We've so gotten off on the wrong track for so many years. And Dwight Eisenhower, who was a great president, and he was a Republican president, ironically enough, warned us about this in one of his major speeches.
That's right.
About the military-industrial complex. Actually, we haven't learned.
It was his final speech.
This year we spent over $1 trillion.
Yeah, it was
on basically, sticking our nose in where it's not wanted, and doing harm all over the world.
It was his final speech, and the reason why I know that to fare thee well is because at one point I was interested in working in a corporation in developing models to basically tell us where to drop nuclear bombs. that was a long time ago, Alan. But anyway, that's
he really was prescient in that, and anyone who has not heard that speech should listen to it.
Amen to that.
It's really quite something.
Yeah. Hey, why is it that we have a progressive base and yet we have a homeless problem with all of these liberals and progressives so-called? That's what really bothers me. It's almost like we engineered this tech environment. I remember being in a jobs and housing meeting in '96, and Keith Carson, our great Alameda County supervisor, was head of it. They were talking about the need to get biotech, and I said, well, what about employing the people that are in Oakland? Aren't you afraid that those folks aren't going to be able to get the jobs? And they all looked at me like I was a giant giraffe with a huge neck. You know, why don't we as progressives take more of the blame for what's happening?
Well, I think we as progressives are trying to, and the DNC and the establishment of that party is bending over backwards to keep things from getting better.
Yeah.
So we're progressives and they're regressives.
That's true.
So what can I say? I mean, that's why even though all of the polling last summer a year ago, or 2016 during the summer, was showing Bernie 10 points ahead of Trump and Hillary Clinton, even within the margin of error, the whole summer with Trump. And the DNC insisted that it had to be Hillary, even though it was Trump. Trump had that always. I always thought Trump would beat her, and I didn't put it up on the marquee. I sort of regret now not doing it. But I always believed that he would because they made such a mistake with such a miscalculation, and then they did everything they could to basically spit in the face of the progressive movement.
And
they had so many people that were big Bernie supporters would not vote for Hillary Clinton.
And what bothers me is that Hillary, and we talk about this on my show from time to time, is I say to people, if Barack had said vote for me because I'm black, he wouldn't have got elected. Hillary said vote for me because I'm a woman and expected it to work. It wasn't about a message of what the country can do for you or a message of a brighter vision for the nation. It was all about her. And
it was. She offered us nothing, and her record as Secretary of State was abysmal. Everything that's happened in Libya and the horrible, heartbreaking refugee crisis in the Mediterranean that has come from her destabilization of Libya can be put at her doorstep. And that was really indicative of her worldview and the way she would approach world relations and that part of the presidential task.
Yeah.
And I think that too many people saw that, and it's heartbreaking that we are where we are today.
Yeah, they had it wired. They kept me, even though I'm to this day under the Trump administration still on the White House press list. My Democratic Party that I'm registered with and on the press list kept me out of the convention because they were mad that I was an Obama operative from 2008. Okay.
Sure.
And horrible stuff. And I wrote Donna Brazil, who is the chairman, and the Reverend who is Leah, who is the CEO of the Democratic Convention. And I said, hey, the Republicans are coordinated in their social media efforts. Here's what they're doing. We need to match that. No one paid any attention to me at all. And well, you know what happened,
Oh, absolutely. Well, to me, the biggest failure of the Democratic Party right now is everyone's talking about a blue wave this fall. But what they're not really looking at or talking about is the fact that our election system is still completely fraudulent.
Yeah.
If you look up Google the term red shift, red shift is what happened after all these electronic voting machines came into our polling places. And what it basically is, it's shown like an 8 or 9% shift from polling to actual so-called election results in favor of the Republicans in all cases. So basically what they've done is they've been able to wire our elections, and they're changing the vote counts. And we've seen it over and over. Bob Petrakis and Harvey Wasserman, who were two lawyers in Ohio, proved it after the 2004 election. They have a wonderful website called freepress.org that's filled with information about election theft. And we know that these elections are being stolen. And with all of this talk about Russian interference in our elections and Russian hacking into our elections, whether that's true or not, this is an unbelievable opportunity for the Democratic Party to come out and say, yeah, the Russians have invaded our elections. We demand hand-counted paper ballots, with results posted in every precinct for this coming election and all future elections. if they got up on their soapbox and everyone in the Democratic Party, every elected official, every email started talking about that, we'd have a chance.
Yep.
It's not too late to print paper ballots for November. They could be printed, a couple of weeks before.
Yeah,
it's not too late.
I'm surprised.
Yet they continue to have their head in the sand and allow this so-called election theater. Well, it is. It's theater. And I'm very fearful that they're going to manipulate so many races this fall that the Republicans are going to be able to hang on to power, and they don't seem to care what Trump does to this country. They're not pulling into account, and we're going to end up with more years of this nonsense, and it will always continue until we have real elections in this country, because people are not in favor of what the Republicans are doing. It's just that they have perfected the mechanism to stay in power and defraud the American people.
There's no one countervailing company that we can, or person, because Tom Steyer has basically put his.
Tom Steyer's great, but you know what? I don't know how to get a hold of him. If you're listening, Tom, call me up. What we need to do, he needs to basically take his website and send out a demand for everyone to start calling all the representatives, calling everyone, writing letters to the editor, doing everything they can to demand hand-counted paper ballots. Because that's the solution. That is our solution. That would terrify the Republicans because they couldn't cheat anymore. If we had a real election, the Republican Party would be history.
That's very true. I think, frankly speaking, the way Trump is going is already history, because I can't see how they recover from this. This they call it Trumpster fire. I am trying to think of another word that's worse. I will call it a political flesh-eating virus.
But as long as they control the counting of the votes, we lose.
That's true.
And that's the bottom line. And Joseph Stalin said that. He said, true power lies not with those who cast the votes, but with those who count the votes. And the Republicans have very well learned this.
You got to do I have to do some type of town hall or something at the Grand Lake before.
We've done lots of them.
I don't mean to imply that you hadn't. I was thinking of
messages on the marquee.
Right.
We've had Dr. Trump out here talking. We've had Greg Pallas. We've had Brad Friedman. We've had Mark Christian Miller has come out here. We've done events with all of these people over.
I know about those. I mean, before the just one big one before the election that I want to get involved in.
Well, we always like doing events here, but the problem is we need on a national level. We need the Democratic Party to come out and admit our elections are a fraud, and the only way that we can have a real election in November is with hand-counted paper ballots. If that doesn't happen, I fear that we will not reverse what's going on right now. And that's my big fear, Zennie.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm going to ask the last question so I can let you go so I can get this up automatically.
I want to go downstairs and watch 2001 and 70 millimeter.
Yeah, and I'd love to. That's so. I mean, I love being with my mom here, but that hurts me. That hurts me in no way. Hey, Barry Lee wants to know if you're worried that people will screen during the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
If they do, we'll clean it up.
I'll do this again.
We've done it before.
I
know toast, rice, candles, all of that.
We got to do this. We got to do this again. We got to have you back on. I got to come to the Grand Lake and do one live. Hey, you know what? That's an idea. I'll do a live. If you know what, we'll talk about it. Do a live show there because a number of my viewers have said, "Hey, do a live show somewhere."
Great.
I know I could draw 1,000.
Well, we've only got 620 seats, so that would get us into trouble with the fire marshal. But we've got Josh Fox coming, who this fall in I believe early October. He's a political comedian, and that's going to be a very interesting show. And we started a tradition. My son Andrew,
New Year's.
He's an actor. He's a stand-up comic. He's down in LA, and we've started doing this thing on New Year's Eve every year, where he gets 5 or 6 of his colleagues together, and we do a comedy night. It's from 10 a.m. 10 p.m. Bring in the new year, and we sell out weeks in advance every year. It's so popular.
Yeah, no, it was one of the more popular pages that I promoted when I was doing work for you there, and I think it actually still is. I think it's one of the things that's still running automatically. You know, check it out.
Yeah, so we do that every year. That's always a lot of fun.
All right, Alan. We'll get you,
thanks for all your support.
I'm going to get you back on here.
We're thrilled that I no longer have to worry about the lease running out here.
Woohoo! Congratulations. And hey, look out for Aquaman, and then you got Godzilla coming too. Godzilla's going to be a fantastic
movie. So many good movies coming up.
My gosh.
It's really great.
All right, Alan, we're going to get you back on here. I'll see you.
Thank you, Zennie. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. All right, see you. Alan Michaan, longtime friend, who, if you just forgot along what the story was, is that Alan bought the Grand Lake Theater leasehold in 1979, but he didn't own the theater. Well, as of Thursday of this week, he owns the theater. He bought it for $3.79 million. And, you know, no change, but basically his payment more is going to be more, but, you know, in terms of mortgage, but because it's now he's not paying it to these intermediaries. He had 9 different intermediaries he was paying money to. Now he's got just the mortgage people. And, but it's his, you know, it is outright his. And that's a great thing to report. So I'm going to sign off on this live stream. I'll have another live stream tomorrow. Well, actually, no, Sunday, because I need a break. I'm exhausted, folks. This is between client work and making sure this gets up. I missed yesterday. So I'm going to go in. You know, the Raiders game is on. I want to catch it. All right. I'll see you guys. You know, everybody's coming in. I'll see you guys. All right. Sunday. Same bat time, same bat channel. All right. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. Thanks, Barry Lee, by the way, very much.